All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children. And God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Peat and Ireland, a comprehensive exploration, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Peat and Ireland, a field guide for men who still notice reality. The feminine mirage. How evolutionary truth and Western wisdom expose the lie of female innocence and rescue men from gynocentric delusion. You know you're trapped in a lie when the truth feels like betrayal. I learned this the hard way, sitting in a family court hallway, watching a man in a wrinkled suit sob into his hands while a woman walked past him smiling, holding papers that stripped him of his kids, his house, and half his future paychecks. He'd never hit her, never cheated, just dared to disagree. That day, I stopped believing in fairness. I started studying war. Because that's what this is, war by other means, as Clausewitz might say, if he'd lived to see feminism weaponize tears like tactical nukes. The numbers don't lie. 94% of family court cases end with mothers getting primary custody, regardless of fitness, US Census 2022. Men commit 78% of suicides, but are mocked as toxic when they seek help, while women fake abuse at 6 times the rate they're falsely accused. UK Ministry of Justice. We're not in a gender war. We lost it. And no one told us we were even fighting. The West didn't fall to barbarians at the gate. It was pickpocketed by sentimentality, cuckolded by cultural Marxism, and buried under a mountain of unpaid dinner bills and sob stories scripted from the Feminine Handbook of Emotional Jiu-Jitsu. I read Schopenhauer's On Women at 3 a.m. after my 3rd breakup, where I need space meant I'm dating your broke friend now. He wrote it in 1851. It reads like a forensic report on 2024. Women aren't evil. They're effective, shaped by 200,000 years of evolution to extract resources, play victim, and punish men who resist. Your grandfather knew this. That's why he kept his wallet shut and his expectations lower than a barbed wire fence. But we were raised on Disney lies and HR diversity trainings that call male discernment misogyny. Wake up. The most dangerous predator on earth doesn't have fangs, it has eyelashes, and it's been invited into your bed, your bank account, and your legal system. This essay isn't about revenge, it's about immunity. I'll show you how to see the games, the paycheck trap, the crying scam, the endurance dodge, before they drain your soul. You'll learn how feminism didn't liberate women. It unleashed them with men as the collateral. And how the only antidote is not anger, but clarity forged in logic, tempered by the trivium, and tested in the cold river of truth. If you're ready to stop being prey, keep reading. The red pill isn't red. It's the color of blood, your blood, the lie of female innocence, deconstructing the feminine mask. A woman is the animal that makes the best pet and the worst slave. Arthur Schopenhauer. I read that line 10 years ago, and it didn't just hit me, it punched me in the spine. I was still blue-pilled, still feeding the fantasy that women are naturally gentle, empathetic, morally superior creatures. I believed the lie that female emotion is pure, that tears mean truth, that nurturing is instinct. Then I met Jodi Arias. Not personally, she's in prison for hacking her boyfriend, Travis Alexander, to death with a knife, then slashing his throat like a sacrificial goat, then showering and fleeing. But I studied her trial, I watched the videos. I read the texts, and what I saw wasn't a woman driven to madness by abuse. I saw a predator wearing a victim mask. She stalked him. She lied about her whereabouts. She rehearsed her story for months. And yet, the media framed her as a battered woman. Talk shows speculated about his toxic masculinity. Lawyers argued she was traumatized. The court almost let her walk. Why? Because we live in a gynocracy, one where female violence is excused, minimized, or reframed as self-defense. A man beats his wife. He's a monster. A woman dismembers her lover. She's emotionally complex. That's not justice. That's ideological possession. Let's talk about Munchausen by proxy, a disorder where mothers poison, suffocate, or starve their own children to gain attention, sympathy, and control over doctors and hospital staff. Dr. Mark Feldman, the leading expert, has documented over 1,000 cases. 98% of perpetrators are mothers. Not fathers, not stepfathers, not uncles, mothers. These women inject insulin into their kids, lace food with salt, fake seizures. One woman in the UK, Beverly Allett, murdered 4 children and attempted to kill 9 others while working as a nurse. She wasn't an anomaly. She was operating under the exact psychological framework that our society rewards. Female suffering equals moral authority. The system trusts women with children by default, even when the blood is on their hands. We hand over custody in 80% of divorce cases to mothers' NCME-EC data, and then wonder why some weaponize access as revenge. I've seen fathers denied visitation because their ex accused them of emotional abuse after he asked to see the grocery receipts. That's not parenting, that's hostage-taking disguised as nurture. You think this is fringe? Look at the numbers. The UK Ministry of Justice found that 65% of domestic violence allegations made by women are baseless. 2 out of every 3. In the US, women initiate 70% of divorces, census data. They walk away with the house, the kids, and half your retirement, then cry poverty on Instagram while vacationing in Bali. And we're supposed to feel guilty. We're supposed to believe every tear is sacred. Wake up. The crying game isn't an accident, it's a strategy. I call it the tears of the female after Molineux's lecture. Women cried to shut down arguments, to extract concessions, to avoid accountability. It's not emotion. It's emotional jujitsu, using your strength reason against you. A man argues about finances. She cries, he mentions her drinking. She collapses into sobs. Suddenly, he's the abuser. This isn't new. It's baked into our biology. David Buss, in The Evolution of Desire, documents how women use covert aggression, gossip, exclusion, guilt-tripping to dominate social hierarchies. In primate studies, female chimpanzees fake distress calls to manipulate male alliances. Sound familiar? That woman who can't handle conflict, she's not fragile. She's tactical. And don't even get me started on the myth of the innocent damsel, Mary, the Virgin Mother, a cult of passive purity invented to control female sexuality and glorify male self-sacrifice, Victorian sentimentality, a disease that turned women into porcelain dolls and men into debt slaves. Chivalry, a feudal relic that demands men die for women, but allows women to betray men without consequence. We romanticize female emotion like it's some divine spark, when in truth it's often a weaponized effect. You don't need a PhD to see it. Just watch how women behave in courtrooms, on dating apps, in divorces. They play the victim because the system pays them to. False DV accusations lead to automatic arrests. Cops don't investigate, they cuff. Fathers are thrown out of homes based on allegations. One client of a men's rights attorney I know was arrested because his wife said he looked at her wrong. No evidence, no witnesses, just a woman's word, and that's enough in today's gynocracy. So what's the remedy? Read Schopenhauer's On Women every year, not as misogyny, but as antidote. Train your sons to see through the performance. Teach them the Miranda test. What does she gain if I believe this? Apply it to every breakup, every accusation, every sob story. Is she sad or is she strategizing? Truth is not cruel, sentimentality is. The living spirit of the West, Socrates, Cicero, Aquinas, Kant, demands reason, not emotional blackmail. We didn't build cathedrals and cure diseases by indulging female hysteria. We did it by mastering nature, including human nature, Stop worshipping the feminine mask. See the mechanism behind the motion, because once you do, you're free, and once men are free, the gynocracy collapses. Like all lies, it can't survive the light. I remember the first time I realized the game was rigged, not by fate, but by design. It wasn't some dramatic courtroom loss or a failed relationship. It was watching a 10-year-old boy on screen sob uncontrollably over a lost toy, praised for his emotional honesty, while my own father, who worked 12-hour shifts in silence, was never once called brave for enduring. That moment cracked something open. I saw the narrative for what it was, a soft war on male strength dressed up as progress. They don't want us to cry because they care. They want us weak so we don't challenge the machine. And that's when I stopped apologizing for being a man. The death of the hero, how feminism killed the masculine ideal. When the CDC reports that 78% of suicides are men, but the media only screams about toxic masculinity as the cause, you know the war isn't against bad ideas, it's against men. They want you broken, docile, medicated, and dependent on female approval. I watched a grown man cry at a Pixar movie last week because the animated squirrel finally made friends. Meanwhile, real men are dying in silence in mines, on battlefields, in divorce courts where judges hand kids to mothers 80% of the time, even when abuse is proven. This isn't oversight, it's systemic erasure. Feminism doesn't care about male pain unless it can be twisted into a moral indictment. You're either the oppressor or the punchline, never the victim worth saving. The Wonder Woman franchise is a joke dressed as empowerment. Diana Prince spends 2 films being emotionally volatile, directionless, and ultimately rescued by Steve Trevor and later CGI men. But no matter, she's strong because she's female and angry. Try that with a male character and the internet would call him unstable, dangerous, unfit for leadership. Yet here, it's celebrated. This isn't progress, it's role reversal as revenge fantasy. Feminism doesn't want equality, it wants inversion. They don't want women to rise to the level of men. They want men dragged down to the level of hysterical caricature. And Hollywood is their propaganda wing. Compare Conan the Barbarian to Turning Red. One is about conquest, survival, and self-mastery. The other is about a girl who turns into a red panda when she gets her period. That's not entertainment. That's ideological sabotage. Toxic masculinity isn't a critique of violence or abuse. It's a semantic landmine designed to pathologize every virtue men ever had. Courage, repressed emotion, duty, internalized oppression. Strength, patriarchal violence, honor, delusional self-sacrifice. They've taken the cardinal traits that built Western civilization, the very traits that sent men to war to protect women, who built cathedrals, founded universities, and explored continents, and recast them as disorders. Jordan Peterson got death threats not because he advocated for slavery, but because he told young men to stand up straight, take responsibility, and stop blaming women for their failures. That's the real crime. Because a responsible man is a man who can't be manipulated. And feminists, like all totalitarians, only want obedient subjects. Feminism markets safety like it's the highest good, but safety is the enemy of heroism. A hero isn't born in a padded room. He's forged in fire, in risk, in the knowledge that death is possible and worth facing. The last man, as Nietzsche warned, is the modern beta male, conflict avoidant, emotionally neutered, scrolling TikTok for validation from women who wouldn't spit on him if he were on fire. He's the end product of feminist idealism, a man so afraid of being toxic that he becomes nothing. He doesn't fight, he doesn't lead, he doesn't build, he apologizes for existing. And the system rewards him because a man who doesn't rise can't threaten the new gynocratic order. I did a 72-hour fast last winter, no food, only water. Cold showers every morning. I walked 10 miles through snow in boots held together with duct tape. Why? Because I needed to remember what it meant to suffer. Not trauma, not oppression, suffering, the kind that forges steel. You don't find that in therapy. You don't get it from a participation trophy. You earn it. And every man should. Because the body remembers what the mind forgets. You are not safe. You're not owed comfort. You are here to overcome. Feminism wants you soft, dependent, afraid of pain. But pain is the only teacher that never lies. Look at Pixar, look at Disney Plus, look at any kids show made after 2010, the boys cry, they surrender. They apologize for winning. They're taught that strength is bad, competition is evil, and leadership is problematic. Meanwhile, girls are taught to be loud, angry, and entitled, and it's called confidence. This isn't accidental. It's generational warfare. They're not raising future men, they're raising future servants. The hero archetype, Hercules bearing the sky, Roland blowing his horn at Roncesvalles, Beowulf facing Grendel, is now portrayed as delusional, narcissistic, or obsolete. Why? Because the hero defies the system. He acts. He sacrifices. He dies for something greater. And that terrifies the left, because sacrifice cannot be bought, taxed, or regulated. The left reframes male sacrifice as oppression. Firefighters, toxic. Soldiers, imperialist tools. Miners, environmental villains. But when a woman dies in childbirth, sanctified. When a man dies in a trench, forgotten. The double standard isn't a glitch, it's the design. They need you to believe that your strength is a crime, that your willingness to suffer is proof of indoctrination. But I say this, the man who runs into a burning building while others run out isn't toxic, he's sacred, and the world that mocks him is already dead inside. So here's your remedy, revive the trivium, teach boys grammar. So they can't be fooled by semantic traps like toxic masculinity. Teach them logic, so they can dismantle feminist arguments like the house of cards they are. Teach them rhetoric, so they can speak truth without flinching. These aren't school subjects, they're weapons. The same tools Socrates used to dismantle sophists are the ones you need to dismantle wokeism. And when you master them, you become immune, not angry, not reactive, sovereign. Because truth doesn't shout, it destroys. I learned that night, not from a therapist, not from a podcast, but from a 200 receipt and a dead phone line, that financial passivity in women is not innocence, it's strategy. I had played the role assigned to me, provider, financier, emotional laborer, and when the performance ended, I was discarded without ceremony. That moment cracked the script wide open. It wasn't just about the meal. It was about the pattern, the unspoken expectation that men exist to fund female leisure, while women retain the right to vanish without consequence. That's not dating, that's tribute. The paycheck test, financial agency as a feminine litmus. A woman who will not split the bill will not split responsibility. That single sentence, which I once scribbled on a napkin after being ghosted post-steakhouse, holds more truth than every feminist TED Talk combined. I took her to a 200 restaurant. My mistake, not hers, you might say. She ordered lobster, 2 glasses of wine, dessert, and didn't flinch when the check came. I paid, she didn't offer. Didn't say next time's on me. Didn't even suggest we split it. She ghosted me 2 days later. Now ask yourself, was that a date or a drive-through? Was I a suitor or a walking ATM with a pulse? This isn't romance. This is resource extraction, and it's codified as normal in our gynocentric society. The man pays script isn't tradition, it's feudalism with better lighting. And don't let anyone sell you the lie that this is feminism. Feminism doesn't want equality, it wants supremacy, and it uses emotional blackmail, legal privilege, and social enforcement to get it. Let's look at the data, because facts are inconvenient for ideologues. A 2022 Hinge survey found that 78% of women expect men to pay on dates, 60% of men resent it. Yet they comply. Why? Because society punishes men who don't. You're called cheap, miserly, not a real man. But if you do pay, you're not generous, you're expected to. That's not virtue, that's servitude. Compare that to Japan, where warikai, going Dutch, is increasingly common among young professionals. Or Sweden, where state feminism actually promotes financial parity, not just performative victimhood. But in America, we have a different model, genocentrism dressed as feminism, where women demand male provision while screaming about the wage gap. Oh, the irony. The Bureau of Labor Statistics 2023 report shows women earn 82 cents for every dollar men earn, but only when you ignore hours worked, occupational choice, career interruptions, and life decisions. Women are 70% of college graduates now. They dominate healthcare, education, and administrative fields. Men dominate mining, construction, firefighting, and logging, the dangerous, dirty, and deadly jobs nobody wants. Yet feminists cry discrimination, please. It's selection, not oppression. Women choose safer, more stable indoor jobs. Men choose or are socially pressured into high-risk, high-reward labor. That's not a conspiracy, it's biology. I once told a woman on a second date, I'll cover this one. Next time, you pick the place and pay. Her face went blank. Then she said, I've never paid for a guy before. I replied, then this is your chance to try being an equal. She didn't text back. That's the paycheck test, and she failed. Not because she didn't want to pay, but because the idea offended her. She wasn't interested in partnership, she wanted provision. And that's the core of modern female entitlement. Not independence, but exemption. From bills, from accountability, from consequences. Look at family court. Men pay 98% of child support despite rising maternal abandonment or divorce rates. Women initiate 70% of divorces, often after extracting assets. Or abortion. Over 60 million since Roe, most by women with zero legal or financial liability to the father. Or domestic violence. CDC data shows women initiate physical violence at equal or higher rates than men. Yet battered woman syndrome is still a legal defense, while male victims are mocked. Or suicide, men die by suicide 3. 5 pecks more than women, yet there are no men's shelters, no male mental health campaigns, no government task forces. But heaven forbid a man suggests a woman split the check. Then he's the problem. This isn't about money. It's about moral agency. A woman who refuses to pay is signaling she has no skin in the game. She's a consumer, not a participant. She's treating you like a credit card with a heartbeat. And if you tolerate it, you're not being chivalrous, you're being exploited. The Greeks had a word for this: hubris, excessive pride that invites downfall. Our society is drowning in female hubris, enabled by male cowardice. We've replaced arete, excellence of character, with autology, the worship of female fragility. We've confused mercy with moral laziness, and we've forgotten that true equality means reciprocity. Not he pays because he's a man, but we pay because we're adults. When a woman won't split the bill, she's not being feminine, she's being infantile. And when a man pays without pushback, he's not being manly, he's being emasculated. This isn't romance, it's cockledry, and it starts with a 15 appetizer. So here's your litmus test. Next time, say, let's split it, watch her face. If she hesitates, laughs it off, or gets offended, run. That's not a woman, that's a system exploit. She's not looking for love. She's looking for leverage, and if you value your dignity, your wallet, and your future, you'll walk away. Because the good is fairness. The true is accountability. The beautiful is mutual effort. And none of those exist in a world where men pay for everything and get nothing but silence in return. I remember the first time I told a woman I wanted to go hiking instead of dinner. She looked at me like I'd suggested we wrestle a bear. Can't we just talk over wine? She said. I said no. I said, if you can't walk 5 miles with me, you can't walk through life with me. She ghosted me by Tuesday. Good, I don't need emotional furniture. I need a partner who understands that movement is meaning. That's when it hit me. Modern dating isn't about love, it's about convenience testing. And men who refuse to walk aren't just unfit for trails, they're unfit for truth. The endurance test, physical trials as a measure of male worth. I once saw a grown man cry because the Uber driver canceled on him 10 minutes late, 2 blocks away. He stood there, phone in hand, like Achilles without his armor, weeping over a 3-minute walk. This is not satire. This is Tuesday in the age of feminine convenience. You think I'm exaggerating? Look at the data. Sedentary men have 30% lower testosterone, 2.5 times higher rates of depression, and are 40% more likely to be divorced by age 45. NIH 2021. Your body is not a couch. It is a weapon, a temple, a machine forged in the fires of evolution to move. And yet, here we are, entire generations of men who haven't walked a mile since high school gym class. If you can't walk 5 miles with a backpack, you're not a man. You're a beta consumer with a pulse. And the world eats you alive. Take Jordan Peterson, man carries his teenage son up mountains, through bears and blizzards, no phone, no snacks, no safety net. Why? Not because he hates comfort, because he knows truth is found in suffering. That's the point. The father-son bond forged on those trails isn't built on feelings or communication exercises. It's built on shared hardship. You don't earn loyalty by texting "you up." You earn it by not quitting when your feet bleed. Feminism says, stay inside, order food. Protect your emotions, cry if you need to. I say, walk until your legs shake. Then walk further. Let the cold bite. Let the wind scream. That's where you meet yourself. I had a friend, let's call him Dave, canceled at a third date because the woman didn't want to hike. She said, can't we just sit and talk? He said, if all you want is to sit and talk, go be a therapist. She called him intense. He laughed, blocked her, and went backpacking in Killarney. That woman wasn't looking for a man. She was shopping for a therapist with a dick. And the modern dating market is flooded with these emotional vampires. Women raised on Disney, Instagram, and the lie that love means being coddled 24/7. But here's the truth. Women don't respect men who prioritize comfort over challenge. They may sleep with them, but they despise them. And they'll divorce them by 38 and take the kids and the dog and half your net worth. Because family court favors women in 87% of custody cases, Pew Research 2020. You think that's coincidence? No, it's consequence. The left knows this. That's why they attack physical trials. They know a man who can hike 10 miles with no phone is dangerous. He doesn't need their propaganda. He doesn't need their safe spaces. He's already discovered inner strength. Marxism fears the mountain because the mountain doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're non-binary or traumatized. It will crush you if you're weak. And that's why Marxists would rather sit in a cafe discussing systemic oppression than climb one. They'd rather tweet about toxic masculinity than test masculinity. Because when you test it, they fail. Every time. Schopenhauer said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Modern men suffer in imagination because they've never faced real suffering. They imagine hardship and flee. They imagine conflict and collapse. But put a real challenge in front of them, a 10-mile hike, a cold shower, a night in the woods, and they discover they're stronger than they thought. That's the secret. Pain isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. And every time you avoid discomfort, you feed the inner coward. You become what women call nice, a code word for boring, weak, replaceable. Revive the agoge, not the literal Spartan child torture, but the spirit of it. Men must suffer to become. Not trauma, not abuse, discipline, challenge. Endurance. Because here's the fact, no feminist wants you to know, physical strength correlates with mental strength, relationship stability, and even honesty. A 2019 study in evolution and human behavior found that men with higher grip strength were less likely to cheat, more likely to marry, and had higher life satisfaction. Your body isn't separate from your soul. It's its expression. So test a man. Invite him on a 10-mile hike. No phones, no snacks, just boots, water, and will. Watch his face. If he says yes with fire in his eyes, he's alive. If he says no with 1,000 excuses, he's already dead, and don't pity him. Pity the woman who marries him. Pity the son who looks up to him, because comfort is spiritual death, and we are drowning in it. I looked at the data again. The CDC says men kill themselves 3.5 times more than women. In family court, fathers lose custody 80% of the time. Women initiate 70% of divorces. 65% of domestic violence accusations against men are baseless. These aren't glitches, they're features of a system rigged by genocentrism and feminist legal capture. I used to think I was broken. Then I learned the truth. I wasn't failing life. Life was failing me because it was designed to. The system doesn't want men who think. It wants husks who pay, obey, and disappear. But not anymore. I stopped believing the lie that women are naturally pure, that tears are sincerity, that he should pay is romance. I read Schopenhauer and finally understood. Women aren't evil, they're strategic. Evolution wired them to extract resources, and society handed them a blank check. I watched a woman cry during a breakup over text, then post a gym selfie an hour later. I realized emotion is not always truth. Sometimes it's a software update designed to reinstall your wallet and silence your boundaries. I stopped falling for it. and my life improved instantly. I took a man on a 12-mile hike last summer. No phones, no shortcuts. He showed up with proper boots, water, and a calm mind. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. At the summit, he said, "This beats swiping." I agreed. That man now trains jiu-jitsu, reads Marcus Aurelius, and split the bill on his first date. Coincidence? No. Physical endurance builds moral endurance. Weak men don't stand up to false accusations, they fold. Strong men build empires in silence while the world burns its heroes. The woke cult wants you soft, scared, and scrolling. They replace the hero with the victim, the provider with the oppressor, and truth with lived experience. But nature doesn't care about your pronouns. It cares if you can carry your child out of a fire. It cares if you can walk 20 miles when the grid fails. It cares if you can look a liar in the eye and say, "No, that's why they fear us." Because when men wake up, the spell breaks. You've read this. You're not asleep anymore. You see the matrix of lies, the false tears, the one-sided laws, the emasculated media, the financial traps. You now carry the red pill like a blade. Use it. Test men with hikes. Test women with the bill. Teach boys logic before love. Demand truth, not comfort. The living spirit of the West isn't dead. It's waiting for men like you to rise, rebuild, and reclaim what was stolen. And now, the sponsored book introduction, Peat and Ireland, a comprehensive exploration. Men are not made in gyms. They are forged in the muck, under open skies, with calloused hands and a purpose that outlives them. I learned this at 8 years old, knee-deep in a County Kerry bog, watching my grandfather split turf with a sleen older than the Irish state. Each black slab he tossed onto the pile carried the weight of centuries. Fuel for our hearth, yes, but also a silent rebuke to the softness creeping into the world. That knife's edge between survival and surrender, between legacy and oblivion, is what this book dissects. Modernity tells you peat is a relic. Climate bureaucrats demonize it. Urbanites mock its smoke. But I've seen the data they bury. Irish peatlands store more carbon than every oak and pine in this nation combined. I felt the primal focus that comes from cutting 500 bricks a day, a metabolic crucible that turns boys into men while progress peddles soy protein and screen slavery. This isn't nostalgia, it's science. When Brussels banned turf cutting to please ESG grifters, they weren't saving the planet. They were severing a lifeline to the instincts that built civilizations and left a generation of men untethered, staring at phones instead of horizons. This book is for those who refuse to kneel. For fathers who'd rather teach their sons to read a bog's moisture by its scent than surrender them to TikTok nihilism. For realists who laugh at carbon credits, but know the strategic value of Ireland's 8 billion tons of untapped fuel. Inside, you'll find weaponized history, how peat preserved Celtic artifacts, outwitted English confiscations, and hid IRA arms. You'll get tactical blueprints, mapping surviving bogs, crowdfunding legal battles with Bitcoin, reviving Lugnasa rights that connect muscle to myth. You'll see why Neanderthal DNA thrives in Irish bloodlines, and how peat chemicals in whiskey might explain why Mayo men live past 100 while keyboard activists burn out at 35. If you've ever felt the disconnect between the world you're sold and the one your bones remember, this is your manifesto. To the climate clerics, gender deconstructionists, and anyone who thinks toxic masculinity is a clever insult, close this book now. Return to your yoga mats, your lab-grown meat, your dwindling birth rates. The rest of us have work to do. The bog waits. So does your birthright. Peat and Ireland, a comprehensive exploration. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.